We are Rogue Media Sports.
Coming up, Brandon Ayuk says no to the Patriots. And where does this organization go from here? We're going to talk that and some preseason preview and a little Drake May with Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots. And speaking of debate, this new fresh information that Braden Murray hated Oppenheimer and didn't even put it in his top 3 movies of last year. We've got all that more coming up on The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. It is The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network on this Wednesday. Another big win for the Red Sox last night, and bigger news for the Patriots. Brandon Ayuk says, no, I don't want to go there. He turns down the Patriots' offer. Basically, it was laid out to him. It was the Patriots and the Browns. The Steelers had dropped out. Now the Steelers are back in. And it's tough to blame the guy. You know, I can't be the one who sits here and talks about how bad a situation the Patriots are in right now and then say, well, why is Brandon Ayuk not saying yes to the Patriots? What's funny to me is it seems like the 49ers were ready to accept whatever deal that was. And we might never know what the Patriots put on the table, but if you're looking to outbid Cleveland, a team that's more ready to win than you are, I think that means you had to put a first-rounder on the table. And that was the one thing yesterday I came on the show and said, look, I get having Judon in there, I get having Bourne in there, and would love it if you could get away with the day 2 pick. And they probably weren't able to. And I'm wondering if they dangled that 2025 first-round pick, because I think that would have been asinine by the Patriots, and I doubt that they did, because I think San Francisco would have taken that no matter what. No matter what, and said figure out the Ayuk thing on your own. I guess they can't really do that because everyone is offering to extend Brandon Ayuk, but that would have been a disaster if they dangled the 25 first-round pick, because Ayuk is probably not going to make you that much better this year. I think he's a good receiver. Whether he's a number 1, I'm always hesitant to say these number 2 receivers are going to be a number 1 somewhere else, because we've seen so many instances in NFL history where that has not happened. Laundry list of them. And it's happened a few times to the Patriots with Nelson Aguilar, and the brief time that Devontae Parker was the number 1 in Miami comes in and is trying to be a number 1 with the Patriots and doesn't work. We've seen it a bunch. So Brandon Ayuk doesn't make you a couple wins better this year. He helps the development of your quarterback, and I think that was the ultimate factor in this, is that he helps develop your quarterback, and he could help you win some games 2-3 years from now. But if he's not going to help you win games this year, why would you dangle your first-round pick for next year? That's going to be a grade A pick, a top 5 pick. This team's going to suck. It's going to be a top 5 pick. So why even dangle that out there for a guy who might be a number 1 receiver? And one of the things I'm going to talk about with Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots is, would this even have been a good route to go down? Because we talk about the receivers, and I talked about it yesterday. It's something you need to have in today's NFL, and it's been a terrible position room for the Patriots the last few years. That's been well documented. But you know what else has been a pretty bad unit for the Patriots? Is that offensive line. And right now, you don't have a proven tackle, NFL tackle on your roster. You've got the guy you got from Pittsburgh who was essentially ran out of town, started a few games for them, but had all kinds of issues with that team and that locker room. That's your guy. You spent a bunch of money to bring Mike Onwenu back, which I like, but he's a guard. So you're going backwards in terms of how to build a team, in my opinion. Great Patriots teams and great NFL teams still today are built on offensively the quarterback and the offensive line, and then the rest is gravy. Because, it's all good and well to talk about a guy like Brandon Ayuk, a third down target who can help develop your quarterback, but if your quarterback can't stay in the pocket and is on his ass every play, what does it matter? That's A1 for me for the Patriots. And that just goes to show that they have a lot of issues with this team. But you need to figure out your offensive line before you throw Drake May out to the Wolves. And again, this year, I don't know how much better you can make it. I don't know that there's a fix that you say, oh, well, we moved this guy here. And once he gets in a rhythm, then Drake May goes out there and plays quarterback and keeps a clean jersey. I don't know that there is that this year. But if you suck and you get a top 5 pick, you get the best tackle in the draft. Now, what is an interesting factor in this Ayuk trade, now non-trade to the Patriots, is if you didn't dangle your first-round pick for next year out there, maybe it was a second, more than likely it was a first in 26 or 27. If you were able to do that, then you have your 3-year fix at 2 important positions. X-receiver with Brandon Ayuk, and you're still going to stink, so it's still a premium pick at 25. You go out and you get the best tackle in the draft. And you've got him on a rookie contract. And you've got it fixed. Because then you've got, hopefully, which is a big if, in that scenario, you've got your franchise tackle and your franchise quarterback both on rookie contracts, which are the biggest luxuries to have in the National Football League. But that's a big if. And now it's an even bigger if because you don't have the receiver. You don't know when you're going to play the quarterback. And the good news is you're still in play for the best tackle in the draft, more than likely. But I just when I had bought into the Ayuk thing, like just when I had kind of fallen hook, line, and sinker for it, they're out of the race. This could be a great move by the Patriots to pull out of this race. But once again, it could be a good move, but it feels like you're back at square one where you felt you were at a few days ago before the Ayuk rumors really sped up and heated up, was that you are dealing with an offense that's in complete disarray. You don't know who the quarterback's going to be at the end of the season, and you're hoping it's the guy you spent the number 3 pick on the draft on, but there's no guarantee of that. And there's no guarantee that he can go out there and stay healthy because of the offensive line you have in front of him. And there's no guarantee that he can flourish in any way because you don't know the wide receiving core that you have in front of him. You hope Tyquan Thornton stays on the field, looks like an NFL player this year. You hope that the 2 guys you drafted, Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, can get out there and be impact receivers on the outside. You hope that Demario Douglas has taken over that slot position and can be your possession short yardage guy like you had with the Jacoby Myers and obviously with the Julian Edelman and a Danny Amendola in the past. You hope that. But there's no guarantee. And in fact, you watch this Patriots team the last few years, there's far from a guarantee. And I think their running game has gotten worse, even though you've extended Ramondre Stevenson. You've had good complementary backs to him the last 2-3 years that he's been in the league. And you don't have that anymore. You don't have Damian Harris. You don't have Zeke Elliott. You have Jermichael Hasty, my guy from Baylor. You have maybe Kevin Harris, but probably not if Jermichael Hasty's on the team. So they've gotten worse from what we're going to see, from what we saw week 17, week 18 last year, and what we see week 1 this year. The team's gotten worse because the premium guy you went out and got isn't ready to start yet. And I'm okay with that. But it's unequivocal that you are worse in your first game this year than you were in your last game last year, which was pretty bad. A 4-13 team from a year ago that finally lost to the Jets in the last game. So, anyway, this could be a blessing in disguise that they don't get Brandon Ayuk, but I'm going to need to see what the terms were that the Patriots had put out there to really decide whether that is, because you've missed so much on receiver throughout the years. It's well documented, and you might have missed most recently second-round pick Tyquan Thornton. You definitely missed on a first-round pick a few years ago in N'Keal Harry, and I say that to say, if you can go out there and get a guy who's produced at the NFL level on the outside, whether he had Deebo Samuel in the same receiving corps or not, whether he had the best play caller and play drawer upper in the entire league or not, he's a guy who's produced at the NFL level. And if you can get that at the risk of a first-round pick that's hopefully in the middle of a first round 2 or 3 years from now, then I'll take that. But for a top 5 pick, no way. No way. But it just goes to show, again, how far the Patriots have fallen, which we know. But it goes to show how far the Patriots have fallen when you see a guy that has proven he is only in it for the money. And then he says, well, not your money, actually. We'll take a pass on that. And that is the situation they have with Brandon Ayuk right now. Anyway, big win for the Red Sox. Take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City, at least, going for the sweep today. And that's huge in terms of the tiebreaker, by the way, because now they have won the season series. They've taken both within a month. They took 2 out of 3 at home. They have now taken at least 2 out of 3 from Kansas City. And it was deja vu all over again. I'm talking 6th inning. They give up a lead. They have the Royals have tied the game. 2 outs, 2 strikes, left-handed hitter against left-handed reliever they just brought on. It was Jarren Duran on Monday in Game 1, and it was Masataka Yoshida in Game 2 on Tuesday. Both come through with 2 RBI hits. It's the same thing. Masa with the bases loaded. They had just walked Rob Refsnyder intentionally after going 2-0 on him because Ref mashes lefties, and they said, I'll take my chance with Masa Yoshida. First pitch, going for the downs, big swing and miss. Couple pitches later, looks foolish on a slider, and then sits back on a changeup for the base hit. That gives the Red Sox the lead and gives it to them for good. Did they make it interesting? Yes, this bullpen has made it interesting. They went from a 3-run lead to a 1-run lead in the 7th? I think that's right. And then Kenley Jansen comes on, 4-out save. Check, please. Red Sox take the season series, which is the first tiebreaker if you are tied for that last wild card spot, which that's who the Red Sox are battling with, the Royals, right now. So great news over on that side of things. Again, looking for some answers in this Patriots Brandon Ayuk trade that is no more. Now the Steelers are back into it. Now the Browns are probably considered the front runner, but we still don't know what those terms are. So we're going to talk with Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots, who is out there on the beat every day. We're going to talk to him about what deal would have made sense for the Patriots to say yes to for the Patriots to actually offer to the 49ers, where they go from here, how much we're going to see Drake May in this game tomorrow against the Carolina Panthers, and how much we'll see him, and if we'll see all 4 quarterbacks in this preseason. That's coming up on The Cam Show, brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network. Welcome back to the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, joined by a fellow Locked On family member. That's Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots, joining us now on the show as we are just a day out from preseason game number 1 when the Panthers visit Gillette Stadium and take on the Patriots in the lid lifter of the preseason. But Mike, before we get into that, it's been news surrounding players who are not on the team this week, as the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes has still not come to an end as we record this right now, but it seems like the Patriots have dropped out of the race. So before we get into them dropping out, let me just get your thoughts on the other night. They're saying it's the Browns and the Patriots. What are your thoughts on them pursuing Brandon Ayuk first and foremost before we get into what the package might have been?
Yeah, I think everyone in Patriots Nation, Cam, was excited to hear that Brandon Ayuk and the Patriots, or should say the 49ers, had a deal or a framework for a deal in place. Now, we knew that we were competing with the Cleveland Browns, so there is competition there, obviously, but to hear that type of progress being made is something Patriots fans weren't used to. And bottom line, we knew that the New England Patriots were in a great financial position to be able to make this happen. Approximately $42.6 million in available cap space, supposed to enter 2025 with in excess of $100 million. So you know they're not going to have a problem writing a big check to Brandon Ayuk. It was whether or not it was going to be a fit here. And look, this obviously was a great fit on the field. Brandon Ayuk is a prototypical wide receiver that will do so well, or would do so well, in a Alex Van Pelt offense. This is an offense that's predicated on using the run to set up play action, give you an opportunity to take deep shots down the field in a vertical passing game. That's where Brandon is at his best. Last year with the 49ers, he ran a similar type of system, or was in a similar type of system, and he had a great year. 75 catches, 1,342 yards, 7 touchdowns in 16 games. For his efforts, he was awarded a second-team All-Pro. So this guy is at the top of his game. He knows he's only getting better and only getting more comfortable in his own skin and being the type of receiver he can be. I was all in on this. I think a lot of Patriots fans were, and I think a lot of my colleagues in the media were, because not only does it give you that number one wideout that you've been craving here in New England for so long, but one that fits so well into the offense that they want to run, and the ability to not only work with Jacoby Brissett, but also to be able to make Drake May better. Yeah, this was going to be a win all around for the New England Patriots. It's a shame it couldn't get done, but, you know, such is the way the ball bounced in this case.
It sure is, and I kind of thought about the Celtics a little bit when this Brandon Ayuk trade kind of came up, and that is, you know, for years we heard with that draft capital that they had, like, would you trade Jaylen Brown for a Kevin Durant? And a lot of the arguments were, you hope that Jaylen Brown at some point becomes a Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, you would love to have first round picks later. I don't want to touch next year's first round picks. I think that's going to be a premium spot, but it's like, yeah, I would spend the money in a first-round pick to get a guy that we know has produced in the NFL. I don't want to leave it to chance to drafting a receiver again, even though it's no longer Bill Belichick's draft, and that was a position that he really struggled at, which, by the way, he is the one who has opened up a lot of this cap space. Just saying, that puts the Patriots in a pretty good position here. But now it seems the Patriots have pulled out, and we might not ever know the details of what they were going to trade and the money that they were going to offer Ayuk. But let me ask you this, Mike. What would have been something in that trade package to San Francisco that would have made you go, nope, sorry, no go?
If it was a top 10 pick in this year's draft, I really think the Patriots needed to stop and consider that. I don't necessarily say it needs to completely be taken off the table, because if you're talking the type of talent you're bringing back, established talent that you know is going to be at the top of its game for a number of years, you have to at least consider it. But with all of the needs that the Patriots currently have, and they do have some needs, one of which is a glaring need along the offensive line, especially at the tackle position. There are some prospects in this upcoming 2025 class that could look pretty nice in a Patriots uniform, protecting Drake May, or at least protecting his blind side, or maybe even over on the right if they feel that Caden Wallace can handle duties on the left. But you need to shore that up. And that's something that I think the Patriots are very mindful of. They also have the situation right now with Matthew Judon. Do they continue to pursue getting a deal done with him? We know Judon would like to be here, but it's going to be at his price. So now are the Patriots going to pivot and try to make that a little bit more of a priority moving forward? It definitely isn't the money. I think we've gone through that. For once, money is not the antagonist when it comes to the Patriots and pursuing a wide receiver. You can't fault Elliott Wolf. He was willing to write the check to make Brandon Ayuk one of the top 5 paid receivers in this league. A lot of reports out there that he was willing to go north of $30 million annual average values. So he's willing to go ahead and write the gamut, but I think it would have been that top 10 pick that the Patriots right now are primed to have with the type of season they're projected to have that would have made me pause and say, okay, I really need to think about this before making this deal. It's not as simple as whatever you want, San Francisco, put it out there and we'll accept it. I think the Patriots had to pause there. At least that would have been something that made me second guess this deal.
I wholeheartedly agree. I actually talked about it in the show earlier. That's the one thing that I can't let that dangle, right? And when you're going against the Browns, it's a lot easier for them to throw out a first-round pick at somewhere between, 17 and 21 than it is to a potentially top 5 pick that the Patriots will be throwing out there. And I like your point about the offensive line, because that's something I'm thinking, are the Patriots' priorities in the right place? Like, we know how important the receiver position has become the last few years when you don't have Tom Brady as your quarterback, and how how the Patriots have failed time and time again in the last 5 years at developing a receiver room. And we know that's important for a young quarterback, but equally as important is you don't know what you're going to get out of your tackles this year, and that's a big question mark. So, are there priorities in the right place going after a big name receiver when there is still such an issue at tackle, or is that just something that would be tough to kind of compensate for this year?
Yeah, I think that's a good balance. And I think that's an excellent point, Cam, because the Patriots do have a number of different priorities right now. And I think offensive line is their top priority on this roster. They've got some budding young wide receivers that they can get excited about. And we heard that in the statement that the Patriots made, unofficial statement, to Adam Schefter of ESPN on Tuesday night, that they're very excited by the young receivers they have on this staff. Right now, I think the offensive line is something they could really use an awful lot of help with. But again, you're talking generational talent. And if the Patriots feel that Brandon Ayuk is a generational talent at wide receiver and he's developing into that level and really, I think, entering that conversation each and every year that he gets better and better, well, then you have a decision to make. Do you go for the wide out that is established and that could come in and provide that security blanket of a top level player at the position that could help Drake May develop into a better quarterback, that could allow Jacoby Brissett to navigate this team a little bit better? Those are all questions that the Patriots coaching staff and the front office have to be able to answer. And again, it really also depends on your offensive line. Is Caden Wallace a guy that could end up being your left tackle of the future or your right? Does Chuck Sikorafor give you the opportunity to be that type of veteran lineman that the Patriots need right now? Even if it's a bridge year, you need someone capable of sealing those edges. If the Patriots feel they have that on staff, yeah, Ayuk may be the guy to go to. But if they feel at all that that offensive line is just kind of makeshift and getting us through the year to get to next season, that's where you really have some problems, and you really have to think about what your priorities are.
And speaking of offensive line and weapons, let's talk about Drake May a little bit, because I think you made a great point earlier about Alex Van Pelt, who is someone that I've been on the train more for the last few weeks. It was not a hire that inspired me, and they didn't ask my permission, which we'll get to at some point. But I was just like, really? The Browns obviously put together a good run last year with Flacco, and the first thing that sold me was they did it with 4 different quarterbacks. They made the playoffs, and the Patriots are going to run through a couple different quarterbacks this year. Okay, I like that. And then you start to hear about his play style a little bit more, which you had outlined with a lot of run to set up the pass, kind of traditionally in that sense, for play action, easier hits for young quarterbacks, especially taking deep shots, which we know Drake May has the arm strength. We don't know when he's going to be out there on the field, but how much do you think this offense and Van Pelt's philosophy really tailors to a guy like Drake May?
I think it's a hand in glove fit from what I've seen and from being observant from what Drake is giving you on the field. Now, are there growing pains? Absolutely. There have been times out there where he does indeed look like a rookie. But right now, what Alex Van Pelt is instilling in Drake May is solid mechanics, protective mechanics that allow him to be able to protect not only the football, but also his field vision, and allowing him to utilize all areas of the field, not always feeling that he needs to push the envelope either by being mobile or by pushing the ball down the field with his arm strength. He's allowing him to be able to see everything as it happens on the field. And that's something that's going to take time. Again, a number 3 overall pick has very high expectations on his shoulders. But Drake came into this draft as being the highest ceiling, I think, of the quarterbacks that have been taken. And I say that without hesitation. I do believe that in terms of talent, this kid could be at the top of the heap of this draft class by the time these guys really start to roll into form. But at the same time, you knew it was going to take him a little bit of time to get acclimated, and that's what we're seeing now. I am continue to be encouraged by the fact that you see gradual improvement in Drake each and every time. His footwork has dramatically improved from the first time that we saw him on the field in rookie minicamp to where he is now. He's using the field a little bit better. The struggles you've seen with Drake, for the most part, have been miscommunication, misreads, maybe properly uncalculated routes. These are things that will take time and need to develop, but the effort is there and the desire is there. They just have to really, I think, force home his ability to connect with his receivers, because you're seeing mechanical improvements each and every time he takes the field.
And the other thing to your point there, it's like, have the Patriots had problems with receivers getting open the last few years? Absolutely. Have they had problems with offensive lines gelling? Absolutely. Like, that comes part of it with, week 1 or 2 of camp when some people are writing off Drake May already and saying, well, Joe Milton's the guy because he's taller. So let me ask you this, and obviously you've watched a lot of his practices. And you've seen Mac Jones go through this process a few years ago, different coaching staff, but he went through it, saw a little bit of Bailey Zappi, trying to become an NFL backup. What are the things you look for in these first few weeks of training camp that the media is allowed to be at? What are the things that you look for in a young quarterback going through their first training camp?
Two things. One I always look for is confidence. And it sounds very basic, and it sounds like, well, who really cares? You want to see his arm strength. You want to see what the kid can do. Yeah, that'll all come. We have a lot of film on Drake May that shows that he's more than capable of making any throw on the field. We know that he's electric with the ball in his hands, and he can make things happen. He can elevate his teammates and make them better in the right situation. But is he coming into the pro game with the confidence to be able to lead his team, to be able to take those guys on the offensive line, put them in a huddle, the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, and say, this is where we're going, and I'm going to take you there? It seems so basic for a quarterback to have that, but so few times do you see a rookie be able to have that type of command. I think Drake is earning the respect of his teammates each and every time he takes the field, and that's an encouraging sign when it comes to that. So what I've seen so far is that he is doing everything he needs to do to earn his teammates' confidence. So that's been priority one. The second is fundamentals and mechanics. Again, we know the arm strength of Drake May, so I don't think anybody's questioning that. But two things I was looking for when I watched him for the first time is the footwork going to be solid enough to be able to navigate a pro-level offense? A lot of what we're seeing in terms of Drake is play-action dropbacks, lining up with the left foot in front while he's in the shotgun. This is a departure from what he did when he was at North Carolina. He was leading with his right foot. It's a different mechanic. It's a different motion, and it's a different feel when you lead with the opposite foot. And Alex Van Pelt is very adamant about that. He's doing it to protect Drake and make sure that he's not going to put himself in harm's way when it comes to a pro-level defense that's going to be after him. I think he's taken to it well. We do see occasionally some regressions when there's a miscommunication in the field or a misthrow. He's got to learn to be able to rebound from those a little bit better. But ultimately, I think the moves in the right direction definitely spell more positive for Drake's development than negative. I think there's more signs that the Patriots have hit on this pick than missed on it.
And I said it a little tongue-in-cheek earlier, but some people have been impressed by Joe Milton out there at practice. What are the things that Joe Milton is doing well that is leading to some of these hot takes and stolen hot takes from some national people? What is getting people excited about Joe Milton?
Well, obviously, his arm strength. I guess we're not allowed to call him Bazooka Joe anymore. It's now Rocket Joe. And I like that name better, to be honest with you. I really think that that fits it very well. But this guy can throw the football like very few I've ever watched. He is a joy to watch on the field, and he's agile. His athleticism is tremendous. Putting aside the backflips that he'll do out on the field that really are crowd-pleasing, and you'll get a huge pop. It's a nice aesthetic. But he's more fundamentally sound than I think I gave him credit for coming in. Don't forget, this guy was in the SEC. He's been in a big-time conference, played for Tennessee. He knows how to win games. He knows about the enormity of the moment being put on your shoulders. I've been very pleasantly impressed by what I've seen with Joe Milton, and I think a lot of what we've heard from either pundits or national analysts or people of that nature that are looking at some of the highlights and saying, yeah, Joe Milton's looked a little bit more fundamentally sound than Drake May. Joe Milton, believe it or not, has actually played more college football than Drake May.
That's
so
true,
it's not a huge surprise that he would be a little bit more advanced, especially the system and the coaching staff he's coming from. A little bit more of a powerhouse type program in Tennessee than North Carolina. So just because Drake is not rounding into that type of form just yet doesn't mean that the Patriots spent the third rounder when they could have spent the sixth on Milton and got similar production. I'm not really willing to go that route just yet, but you can see why the Patriots were interested in bringing in his athleticism. And I would love to see him hang around, maybe be the third quarterback on this team to give you so many different directions, because this kid really can, gun the football, and he can move around when he needs to as well. So he's been very impressive.
All right, Panthers, Patriots, lid lifter on the preseason, week 1 coming up. And based off the reps that you've seen, how many quarterbacks do you expect that we will see in this week 1 preseason matchup?
Well, if we're taking Gerard Mayo at his word, and he says everybody who's healthy is going to get a chance to play, you may see all 4.
Wow.
I really don't think you're going to see Jacoby Brissett for that many. I think if you do see him, it'll probably be for 1-2 reps, and that's it, just to give the game a little nudge, a little start off, and that's it. There is a possibility you may not see Jacoby suit up. So always keep that in the back of your mind. If you're going to be the opening day starter, the chances of you going out there and really showcasing your talents, I think everybody pretty much knows what you're getting from Jacoby, which is a very solid NFL quarterback, and he's been the most consistent that we've seen in all 4 in all the weeks that we've been right now looking in training camp of the 4 that are on this roster. But I do think Drake will get reps. In terms of the volume of reps and when they'll happen, I think that's still up for conjecture. Gerard didn't tip his hand when he spoke to us in media on Tuesday, but I would look for more information to come out on that on Wednesday and even a little bit on Thursday morning. I do think you're going to see Milton take a good amount of snaps, and you're going to see, I think, a pretty good-sized dose of Bailey Zappi, even though the Patriots know what this guy can do. There is no question about it. They want to see what he can do in Alex Van Pelt's offense and with this new look passing group. So those are the guys that I look to get the lion's share. But for those of you looking to see a little Jacoby Brissett mixed in with a little bit of Drake May, I think you'll be happy on Thursday night. I think both of these guys at least get out there for a few series.
And speaking of that, because the world of preseason football has changed the last few years with the 3 preseason games instead of the 4, and then something that Belichick was a trailblazer for is the joint practices. And now everyone does it. I remember when it was kind of a new flashy thing 10 or 12 years ago, and now everyone's got joint practices. And for a quarterback like Drake May, how much weight do you actually put into these preseason games, or is it all in the joint practices now? It feels like we gain so much from that, and we hear so much about the coaches learning from that. So is there more weight put into those practices that they'll have with the Eagles, or more on the preseason games and seeing him out there with live bullets?
I think it's a little bit of both, but to be honest with you, Cam, I'm right there with you. I put much more stock into what I see in the joint practice settings, because I think you're seeing a little bit more. You're seeing the teams get a little more competitive with each other. It's a more intimate setting. So I think in that respect, you're looking at both teams trying to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it's a great learning experience for a young quarterback. I remember a couple of years ago watching Mac Jones in joint practices with the New York Giants and really shining. As a matter of fact, I remember writing an article for Sports Illustrated saying Mac is in the New York groove, and I was really feeling, Kiss that day. So,
Yes.
Naturally, I'm trying to keep going with that. But it really does give you an opportunity to see these guys in a new light, and it's their first opportunity most of the time. Patriots are going to use a preseason game now before they do joint practices, which is a little bit of a reversal from what we've seen in years past. But at the same time, I think that joint practice with the Eagles is going to be very telltale when it comes to what the Patriots are going to do this year, how they're going to divvy up these reps, and what they expect out of Drake May especially. That's going to be his really first, I think, good test of how he's going to be able to handle a pro-level defense. I'm looking forward to it, and I, for one, can't wait to see what the kid can do, especially against a defense like Philly, which has a good amount of solid playmakers on it from top to bottom. That'll be a very good test for him, no question.
Yeah, and can still get to the quarterback. It's not like it was 2 years ago, but they can still get after it and really test that offensive line as well. Mike Debate from Locked On Patriots. Mike, how can the people find your work, and how often can they find your work?
Well, as we all do here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, each and every day on the Locked On Podcast Network for New England Patriots coverage, boots on the ground coverage continuing from Foxborough, and we break down all of the ins and outs of Patriots football each and every day. So catch us on the Locked On Patriots podcast, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And then if you want to check out my written work that I do for covering the team on the beat basis, you can check me out at Patriots Country of Athlon Sports.
All right, sounds good, Mike. So thank you so much for coming on. We're definitely going to have you on before the season, and we'll kind of take note of what we talked about today and see how it's all developed through the preseason. But Mike, really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Cam. My honor and pleasure. Thanks for having me on today.
It is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Braden Murray alongside. That got a little too British. Braden, how you doing today, man?
That was very BBC radio intro.
Yeah, quite.
I enjoyed that.
Quite.
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, all right. That just really brought me down. I was getting better at my Australian. It's really been the toughest accent for me. That and Irish, which is kind of funny because like I actually am Irish, but
No, Australian is hard.
for me.
It's hard to pinpoint when you're not like from there.
Yeah, like I can do Scouse way easier than Australian, and Scouse is very difficult. But I don't know. Braden, we had a discussion yesterday about movies, and you
As
had
we
a
want
bold
to do.
claim about Oppenheimer. I said I liked. I came to the conclusion I liked Killers of the Flower Moon like a little bit more, like just a little bit more. And I would even concede that Oppenheimer, from my opinion, was probably a better made movie. Not by a lot, but by a little. This is
Like technically, I would probably agree.
yeah. This is like going back to the greatest song ever written debate. It's not my favorite song, greatest song ever written. So anyway, I liked Killers a little bit more, and you said you liked it way more. In fact, you said Oppenheimer didn't make your top 4, or was it 4?
It was 4.
Was 4. So didn't make the medal stand for you.
No,
He's not coming home with a medal.
not in the best picture race. No,
Really?
no.
Okay, before I get into this, your side of the story here, was there anything you would have given them the Oscar for? 'Cause I know you're into these categories.
Probably cinematography,
Yeah.
score,
Okay.
best actor. Yeah, best actor. Cillian Murphy was really good.
He was great.
Um,
It's like the closest I've seen someone in a while that was like Daniel Day-Lewis could have done that role. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like the crazy method act. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if that was a Daniel Day-Lewis role. Obviously, Cillian Murphy was great for it, but
That's
it's
like-
rare that I could say that about another actor.
They won a lot of the technical awards, which I am not really in a position to argue against.
You're okay with that? All
Yeah, I'm fine with those. But I think does it deserve to be Best Picture? I thought so at the time when I saw it. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I saw it in July. The day it came out. Like, oh, this is
Had
gonna
you,
win.
so you've seen all the 10
I've seen all
finalists.
10 of them.
Had you seen them before the awards?
I saw all of them before the awards.
Okay. Man, you're into this. You're into this.
Well,
That's
when,
great, man.
When you're at home with nothing to do all day,
I guess that's true.
you have time to go to the theater and.
So, how do you want to do this? Do you want to rank your top 3 ahead of them? Do you want to do it like explain just why you didn't think Oppenheimer was as great as everyone thought it was? I'll let you kind of decipher how you want to do this because I need to hear this argument.
Why don't I just start from the 10? We briefly go through all of them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. You have the 10 in front of you?
I do. I have
All
it
right,
on
all right,
my
good.
letterbox list.
Good.
I ranked them on letterbox.
Because let's just say, I mean, this was actually a really good year for movies, I thought. The best in a couple years. And I was firmly on the Oppenheimer train. I saw it the day it came out. I was way into it. I saw Killers a few weeks before the Academy Awards. And we determined I've seen, like, what, half of these?
I think you saw half of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't seen all 10. I'll
And,
concede
I
that.
do want to say,
Please.
going
say it.
in, so Oppenheimer I had 4th. That's a
Yep.
spoiler.
Yep.
But I remembered that I also had Everything Everywhere All at Once in 4th.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years, your 4th place is one.
If
Interesting.
Academy Awards, if you want to know who's going to win Best Picture, it's probably the film I've got in 4th place.
Nice.
So number
We're
10.
gonna do a ranking show before the next Oscars.
So number 10,
that.
I've got Maestro. I watched that. It's at home. I think it was Carey Mulligan was great.
Yeah, I heard
Bradley
it wasn't
Cooper
good.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Number 9, I got American Fiction. I was super excited for this movie because I saw it in the trailers before. I think The Holdovers. I saw it before the trailer. Saw it before Oppenheimer, and the trailer was really good. And I get in there, and it was kind of a misleading trailer.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I did see, and I felt they had kind of like misdirected their point at the end, and I was just like,
They didn't
like I know
advertise.
what kind of point you're going for, but you were going against a point for so much in the movie, and then ended up turning to it, and I don't think that was constructive. But it was funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. They just didn't advertise the family drama aspect.
Yes,
which
not at
kinda-
all. In fact, I'm trying to remember the trailer I had watched before watching the movie a few weeks ago. By the way, this was the most recent I've watched.
Oh, okay.
And I just that's a good point. It kind of throws it on you that it's really a movie about family, which is fine. It's just not
Not what I
shown
was
like that
expecting.
at all in the trailers. Yeah, okay.
Okay, number 8. This one might be a little controversial. I got Barbie.
Okay.
Barbie's a fine movie. I
It
enjoyed
was. In fact, I actually have almost the same criticism of Barbie as American Fiction. Is they do satire really well throughout most of the movie, and maybe this is just my toxic masculinity, but at the end it's just so heavy-handed. Like, you know what I mean? America Ferrara goes on
the
that
monologue.
about how tough it is to be a woman, and I'm not saying it's not tough to be a woman, but it's like that just almost waters down a movie for me. It's like we got it. We had the point that you were going for. It was actually really expertly crafted throughout most of the movie. But maybe that's just my delicate male ears. Just not ready to hear it.
No,
I thought it was funny, man.
I thought it was a funny movie. I thought Margot Robbie was great. There's a line she has about someone calls her a fascist.
It's a great
And
part.
she goes, I don't make the trains. I'm not in charge of like transportation or something.
That's
And she's
great.
sitting there on the bench crying. Ryan Gosling's great. Everyone's great in that movie. I just remember I went in after Oppenheimer in a bad mood.
Did you do them in the same day?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you're
I
so
saw
good at
Oppenheimer
this,
at
man.
like 10 in the morning, and I saw Barbie at 4 in the afternoon. And Oppenheimer kind of puts you down in the dumps the way it ends.
Yeah.
I was upset. And I get in there and I see all these girls dressed in pink. These girls walk into the movie like 20 minutes late,
You
and
love
they
that.
and they leave like 30 minutes before the film ends.
Ugh.
I'm like, what's going on? And this goes back to my long legs complaint, where people just maybe don't understand what they're in the movie, just like what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
That does suck, man. That's part of taking it into your own hands when you go to the theater,
Yeah.
which I think is a great experience, but sometimes that happens.
Okay, number 7. I
Yeah.
don't think you've seen this one. This is Past Lives. I have.
Nope.
Past Lives is very sad. It's basically about this like Korean American woman who left Korea or wherever. I think she was Korea or Japan. She had like a love interest when she was a kid, and she left. And it's like 15 years later, and they reconnect. And at this point, she's married. She's married to a white man, which is kind of a big deal.
Oh, no. Oh.
And the Korean guy, he comes over to visit her. And she's kind of starts to fall for him again. And the white guy's like, hey, why is... Anyways, it's a romantic...
A love triangle.
Yeah, it's a love triangle.
Yeah.
And I thought the actors were great. I thought it was good writing. I just... it's not a movie made for me.
Gotcha.
Number 6, I've got Zone of Interest.
Also haven't seen. Yeah.
I thought you had.
I've seen like a half hour of it, so
Okay. Zone of Interest.
actually it's a little bit more, but I think it was like half the movie. But
This is the last one I saw. And I saw it when it turns out I had bronchitis, a sinus infection, and the flu when I saw this. So I felt like crap. I saw it in the front row of the packed out Cinemark on a Tuesday in March,
nice.
which I thought was like, oh,
Cinemark was hopping last night, by the way.
Go away,
when
go.
I went to the new Whataburger.
Yeah.
$5 Tuesday, man. It must be killing
it
it
was.
there.
It was.
Killing it there.
That's almost how I exclusively see movies now.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it was just super depressing. It's about the commandant of Auschwitz and his family. And I thought it was interesting because they never
Sounds
actually, huh?
I was gonna say, sounds like it's gonna be a good, fun for the whole family.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they never like actually show, like the Holocaust. You just hear
Right.
it
Yeah.
because they live in the camp, and you hear the sounds of people screaming and babies crying, and you hear the furnaces.
It's harrowing, man.
It is a
Even
very
the parts
harrowing
I saw,
movie.
it's like, That's why I haven't seen the whole thing. It was like tough.
Well, you wanted
the
to see
time.
it when you were high.
Yes.
I was like, you should not.
You
That
advised
is
against
not
it.
a movie you want to do that with.
I just thought that would help me get through it better. Like, obviously, I'm not saying I'd be giggling the whole time. You know, obviously not. Like, you still understand that it's pretty serious when you're high. But I don't know. When I get high and watch movies, I'm like, I want to see through this. Like, I want to see to the end. And sometimes when I'm not high, I don't always do that, which is exactly what happened. So.
Zone of Interest is a good movie. I would not have been upset. This is where the range where I wouldn't have been upset if it won Best Picture. Number 5, I got Poor Things. Did you see Poor Things?
I did, yeah.
I liked Poor Things a lot at the time. There's a lot of... I wasn't expecting this, I guess. There was a lot of Emma Stone being naked in that movie.
Which would be great if she wasn't... If her character wasn't developmentally
Right,
disabled.
if she wasn't technically like a child.
Yeah. It felt weird.
I thought it was a very nice, very stylized, which was cool.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe.
Took a lot of chances.
Huh?
Took a lot of chances.
It did. And it won a lot of Oscars for how stylized it was. The story just didn't, I guess, connect all the way with me. Fine movie. Good movie. I liked it. Number 4. This is the one we've been waiting for. Oppenheimer.
All right.
Now, I do love Oppenheimer. I will say that out front. It's a great movie. I was happy it won Best Picture. But, I don't know. The top 5 are really kind of splitting hairs until we get to number 1. So 4, 3, and 2 are all kind of interchangeable. But 4, Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy is great. Robert Downey Jr., good. I wouldn't have given him the Oscar.
Yeah, I thought that was a stretch. I did really like his performance.
Christopher Nolan, happy that he won his Oscar.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Okay. That's the extent of Oppenheimer. Just like, it was good.
It was a good movie. What more can I say? It won 7 Oscars.
Yeah, let me ask this: what were the flaws in your eyes of Oppenheimer?
I thought that the third hour, like the legal drama of it, was a little drawn out, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the third hour. It's great.
You know what I think about that too is like, that's a part of the movie that is tough for a lot of people to relate with, in terms of like, a lot of people don't know what like the security clearance is and why that's really important and why they were coming down on him. I think that's a part where because you're a big history guy, and I just think there's even some smart people who would watch it and be like, I can kind of piece together why this is important, but like, you know what I mean? So I thought that was necessary, but also kind of a weird climax to the movie.
And
If
I
you
think
can call it that.
something that bothered me more than like the actual movie is the reaction it got, because people thought it was confusing with the different, not the different timelines, but like the different coloring.
My dad couldn't follow it at all. He said he hated the movie because he couldn't follow it. It was too dark, and he didn't know why they kept going back to Robert Downey Jr.
It had a similar problem, I guess, to Greta Gerwig's Little Women, where they keep doing flashbacks. If you're not paying attention, you don't know
where you
are. You
can
easily get
you're
lost.
Following. Yeah.
But I don't think it's a hard movie to follow if you're locked in.
Right.
Which is kind of a problem with moviegoers.
Correct.
They want,
That's why it's great at the theater.
And like people thought that it was celebrating war and celebrating American imperialism and whatnot.
Those people didn't see the movie.
But if you're clearly watching, it is like, hey,
the movie.
We don't like this. This is bad.
In fact, like the whole drawback to it, the conversation with Einstein, like beginning and end of the movie, that's exactly what it's going against.
Yeah.
Like that so essentially the whole theme of the movie is not glorifying dropping the A-bomb.
And people are
mad. The rest of the movie too is not glorifying it really.
People are mad that it didn't show the Japanese experience or whatnot. I'm like it's not about the
movie's
bombing.
Called Oppenheimer.
It's not about the bombing. It's about the man who made the bomb.
Yeah, it's
the reaction online was enough to make a man insane.
And look, I don't want to get like, I mean, this isn't even political. It's more of an American history thing. It's like, I get it. It killed a lot of civilians. That's not what we want to see. they're still handing out Purple Hearts that were made specifically for the invasion of Japan because the Japanese were not going to give up. And so it's like, because it gives a little perspective on things that 80 years later, they're still giving these out for all the Purple Hearts that they made for these guys, that the casualties that they were expecting and the injuries they were expecting was astronomical. So, anyway.
Number 3, I've got The Holdovers.
Good movie, man.
Yeah, great movie. Another one of those movies that I saw the trailer for before Oppenheimer.
Will that movie hold up? Not like, oh, this comedy doesn't hold up. But do you think that's something that people will be watching 15, 20 years from now?
I think it's a good Christmas movie.
Not like a happy-go-lucky Christmas movie.
No, but like it has an optimistic ending.
Sure.
And it's kind of about the found family and how there's kind of family wherever you go.
Yeah. It's a little bit of Dead Poet Society in it.
Yeah.
Family aspect, private boarding school, rallying around a teacher, albeit in very different ways.
Now, I will say I was happy that Cillian Murphy won, but I was rooting for Paul Giamatti to win Best Actor.
Yeah.
But
that was a long shot. You knew that.
Well, he won. Well, I guess they both won Golden Globe. Cillian won for drama, and Paul won for comedy. But I saw it with my mom and my sister. And yeah, just a happy, it's just a feel good movie.
Good movie.
You know? It makes you feel warm.
Some good Bruins references in there too. So
okay.
I like it. Yeah.
Also, it's about a history professor. I'm a history major.
Aspiring history teacher.
Yes.
We're in the top 2.
Number 2, baby. Anatomy of a Fall. Did you see this one?
No, didn't see this one.
This one is a French and German movie.
Anatomy
d'un shoot. The lead actress in this was great. In this movie, she speaks German, French, and English. Unless she changes throughout, like
She's single?
Huh?
She's single?
I don't think so.
Damn.
She's also like 40 years old.
Wise.
Actually, she was not. She was in 2 Best Picture nominees. She was in this movie and Zone of Interest.
Oh, good for her.
This one
probably busted out some German there too.
Yes, she spoke exclusively in German in that one. This movie basically it's a trial. It's a criminal procedural.
Okay.
Where this lady's husband falls from like a 3rd floor out of a window, and the movie's trying to figure out, did she kill him or was this a suicide?
Interesting.
And basically, one of the star witnesses is her blind son.
Not much of a witness, huh?
Exactly.
Am I right, fellas?
And it's just about how the media is trying to portray her as the murderer. And by the end of the movie, you don't really know if she did it or not.
Interesting.
She gets
I love a
off.
good
Spoiler,
anti-media
she
movie.
gets off, but you're not sure if she is actually responsible for his death. And there's a great dog performance in this movie.
Really?
A dog ODs.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds really depressing.
Well, no, but he didn't really OD, so it's
Oh.
okay.
He pretends to OD.
Yeah. If I could give a best dog Oscar, I'd give it to that guy. Messi is his name.
Like Lionel.
Yes, like Lionel Messi.
All right, maybe I'll give that one a shot. It's tough to do a procedural these days. There's so many on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a good movie. I liked it. Number 1, though.
Which leaves us with...
Number 1, my top choice would have been Killers of the Flower Moon. We discussed this, I think, on yesterday's show.
We did, yeah.
But Leo's great in it. My dog, Jesse Plemons, is great. Don't get enough of him
Not
in the
the
movie.
OD dog.
Hmm?
Not the OD dog.
No.
The OG dog, if you
My
will.
OG.
Yeah.
My
Mart, Texas's own.
My boy. He's great. Everyone's very good in that movie.
Should Lily have won Best Actress?
I think she should have been Best Supporting.
Yeah. She should have won.
She would have won Best Supporting, I think.
Yeah. That's like, she was awesome in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I mean, they all were, like you kind of just said there. I mean, they all were great in that movie.
It's such an interesting story.
That's
too.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I think it gets helped. I mean, it is about this, but the story is fascinating. Like,
yeah.
that this happened 100 years ago, in our country, but in the not so great state of Oklahoma. Like, it's in a weird way, it's like Americana. It's just the dark side of it. But it's like America. It's like the Bible. It's like all this shit in here of like there's some people you just can't trust. The devil's in plain clothes. This guy, a complicated figure still at the end of the day, King Hale, who, I'm not trying to say he did more good than bad, but he did do a lot of good in that community,
right?
While also fucking killing them off,
like 40 people. Yeah.
It's insane, and I think the author David Grand had said, like, I covered so much for so many years. I saw people on death row. I'd covered murders and such all over New York City. And he said, this is the most evil I've ever covered. When you think about it, it is. It's like it's the most like intense evil you can do is to build a community, welcome these people into your community and into your family, and just systematically murder them and just tear the place apart solely for money, which he already made. He already was rich. It's the ultimate like greed, devil, America, all of it in one.
Do you think that any other director could have made it as great as Scorsese did?
Maybe. Like, I think it was great for Scorsese.
I don't think Nolan could do it.
I was just thinking Nolan. I think he could have. I don't know that Nolan's films, other than Oppenheimer, like really bring out the emotion subtly the way that Killers of the Flower Moon did. Do you know what I'm saying by that? Like, obviously there's tortured characters in Nolan's movies, but in this movie it just happened in such a subtle way, which I think Scorsese is great at. With like Taxi Driver, if you're watching it for the first time, you don't even realize he's lost his mind until he's lost his mind.
Yeah.
Or Raging Bull, the same way with De Niro. It's like a couple crazy things happen before you're like, this guy's fucking insane. You know what I mean? And
can I say something?
Yes, please.
I didn't like Raging Bull.
Oh, Braden is just hot movie takes day. Why didn't you like Raging Bull?
I just really didn't like the main character. I couldn't connect. De Niro's
Jake
great.
LaMotta. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Pesci's good. Love Joe Pesci.
I will say, people will say it's like one of the 5 or 10 greatest movies of all time. And they'll say it's the best sports movie of all time. And I don't agree with that. I don't say it's the best sports movie of all time because I define a sports movie a little bit differently. Not just a movie that has sports in it. But it's really not a sports movie. It's about Jake LaMotta, who happens to be a boxer. And, I mean, he could have been in any other sport.
Maybe you should rewatch it. Same with The Irishman.
I mean, yeah, and I love the movie still. At times I think it's a little slow, but
it's definitely a little slow.
I think he and Pesci together, and obviously a couple different movies, are great, but that one specifically, plus also a little bit together in Goodfellas and Casino.
I love the makeup too.
It's good.
The way you see him change over the years, it's very, very good.
Yeah. Jake LaMotta just died like 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the most surprising thing of all of that. I saw Sugar Ray Leonard in a commercial yesterday. He looks great. These
Jake
guys
LaMotta
that take
was
a beating.
not towards the end there.
No. In fact, I got to look that up. It was not that long ago. Is there any other
about killers?
Huh?
I'll say it. There are some great jackets in that movie. Some great
2017. Sorry, 2017. He was 95 years old.
Wow,
that's insane. Sorry.
Great costumes in that movie. Killers of the Flower Moon. Great hats. Great jackets. Lily Gladstone gets to wear some great shawls. I will say. Yes,
she does nail the shawl thing and the blankets.
They're also very good, like character faces. Like I would believe that a lot of those henchmen were alive in the 1920s.
Yeah, hardened faces.
Yeah,
of the old West. Yeah, no, I could see that. I think we did a Scorsese thing at one point, but are there any other Scorsese movies that you really don't like that you want to get off your chest right now?
I don't think so.
Okay, just Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Okay. We can watch it again at some point.
Okay.
I'd recommend. I mean, again, I don't have it as like Scorsese's best movie, which some people do.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, dude, again, we did this in a segment, so I don't want to rehash this, but Killers is one of my favorite Scorsese movies.
Oh, yeah.
And such a great comeback after The Irishman for me.
Yeah, we talked about it.
I don't like The Irishman. Anyway, Braden Murray's top 10. Whoever he's got, I can't wait to do this before the Oscars to see who you have at number 4. Because, like, I think you would admit that you probably expected Oppenheimer to win.
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, everyone expected
Everything Everywhere
Oppenheimer
All
to
at
win.
Once.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was a little bit more of a surprise, but it wasn't a great year for movies, I don't think. And that was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that one will have the staying power in 20 years, like a lot of other recent Oscar winners. Shape of Water.
Oh, yeah.
Green Book, Moonlight. Like I don't think those are going to be.
I think Moonlight has some staying power. I haven't seen Moonlight. I want to, though, but
There's
enough.
I don't know. I think Oppenheimer will the same way like Schindler's List does, in that it's a tough movie to watch. Obviously, Schindler's List is a little bit tougher to watch,
Yeah.
but it's like appointment viewing. Like everyone kind of needs to see it once.
And
Saving Private Ryan, I guess, would be a better example. Still tough to watch, but everyone's seen it. I think Oppenheimer will be like that.
I think not as tough to watch, but I think Return of the King is also probably in that. Will age even better in 20 more years
Gotcha.
than it did over the
Gotcha.
last 20.
Yeah, but like if you're not into Lord of the Rings,
Yeah, but I think people appreciate how great the filmmaking is.
okay. Cinematography's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great video for you to watch, but you don't watch sports movies, so I gave it to Zach
what's
and
the
Mike
video?
instead. It's on YouTube. It's this guy, Paul E.T., who I just discovered his channel, and it's like a 35-minute video about how to shoot a sports movie well, and he goes into all the details. He basically focuses on like 4 or 5 movies that just nailed it in terms of like gameplay, stadium, the pacing of it all. And he kind of goes into how they did it, the different kind of ways you can film a sports movie. It's fascinating. You'll like it as someone who just really likes movies.
Would you consider Challengers to be a sports movie?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, I thought you have. Oh.
No,
Okay.
I haven't seen it. Maybe. See, real quick, because we're going over time. Real quick, for me, the reason why Raging Bull is not a sports movie because it's like a biography.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas sports movies, like some of the major themes of the movie are told through sports, if that makes sense. So like Hoosiers, the basketball movie, is a great underdog story, and it's laid out to you through the lens of sports. They're underdogs because they are in a small school, in a small town, and you see them overcome things. So that's like the moral of the story is like David versus Goliath,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas like the moral of the story of Raging Bull is he's kind of crazy,
Yeah.
And maybe some of that has to do with the boxing, but he's just this complicated figure not just because he's an athlete. I don't know if I'm portraying that very well. Like Friday Night Lights, the movie, does not have a love story, a traditional love story in it, but the love story is these 17-year-olds in the relationship with their town because the relationship is completely dependent on the people's psychotic love of football.
Yeah.
So to me, that's more of a sports movie. Anyway, that's Braden Murray. I'm Kim Stewart. This is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. We'll see you tomorrow.
We are Rogue Media Sports.